I want to introduce you to some of the women in my life. My sister, Valerie Biden. Valerie and I went to school together many years apart. And she graduated with honors. I graduated. She has run every one of my campaigns. And when things were really tough, I came home from the hospital, and she had moved in with her husband to help me raise the kids. And when Jill and I found one another, about a day after, so I don't know exactly when, but a few days after, I came home and she had moved out. And but I want to tell you that that I've been lucky, a lot luckier than an awful lot of people faced with similar circumstances. I also want to introduce you to the two best things that have happened to my family, and I'm not joking. I have two daughters, two additional daughters. No, this sounds corny. But you know, all of you who are parents who have sons or daughters who have been married, you know it's the luck of the draw. My mom has an expression, which we've applied in our family. Anyone you love, honey, I'll love too. But let me tell you, this has been easy to love these two ladies. I want to introduce you to Halle Biden, who is who my son is her husband. This is Halle. Halle is a professional. Hallie's a school counselor. Halle has her master's degree, and Halle has two beautiful young children. And she's doing what all of you are doing. She's working, raising a family, and she's going to be on her. She's not going to be on her own, but her husband's heading for a year, and she's a tough, tough lady. And so I just wanted you to meet her, and I love the hell out of her, I tell you. Now, my number two son did just as well, and he did a little bit earlier. This is Kathleen Buell Biden, and she is from Chicago. And I didn't know till we married Kathleen, I didn't know that every good thing happened in Chicago. We sit at the dinner table. Swear to God, did you know that the first drawbridge was in Chicago? Did you know ice cream was invented in Chicago? Pizza was invented in Chicago. So I want to tell you something. And Halle and Kathleen are they don't. My sons don't like this, but they have temporary custody of my 5 grandchildren. And one of the, I won't say played hooky, but one of my granddaughters happens to be the number 2 daughter for Kathleen, is here, and this is Finnegan Biden. This is Finny. She knows more about politics than most 30-year-olds do. This kid is interested. And you know, that old expression, they usually reference it when they're talking about, you know, in this chauvinistic society, they usually mention it in terms of men, but the old apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I want you to know the woman who I rely on the most, a first-rate lawyer, had a great job in New York City, was deputy press secretary in the Clinton administration, has had a number of jobs, quit a very, very good job to come home and follow in the tradition of her mother and manage the campaign for her cousin and her best friend, Beau Biden, for Attorney General, and is now traveling with me to try to keep me out of trouble. This is the smartest kid you're going to find. She's not a kid anymore. I want you to meet Missy Biden Owens. So, I don't want them to have to stand up here. They're welcome to, but here's the deal. The fact of the matter is that, you know, I really mean this. And you men in the audience are here. I think you can tell, and I mean this sincerely, you can tell whether or not a man was raised with and surrounded by strong women. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. It's the single most significant thing, I think, to determine. And I tell you, I have really, genuinely, it's not a joke, it's totally stuff beyond my control. The women in my life have been strong and independent and tough, and they have been people who when everything gets down, and we've gone through, like all of you, some tough times. There's more backbone in the crowd you just saw than any 40 men I have hung out with. So I just want you to know, all kidding aside, it's a big deal. There's a lot to talk about with the economy, but I want to focus on one aspect of the economy, the most devastating aspect of what this economy has done. What I want to talk to you about today is the impact on women. Ladies and gentlemen, is this working now, the handheld? The impact on women. You all know the deal, folks. When the economy goes south, who are the first people who get hurt the most? It's women. It's women. And I tell you what, we're going to change that, because here's the deal. We got to restore both the protections and the dignity of work, the dignity women and others deserve in the workplace and their own lives. Because when the economy goes south, as I said, it's women who go, whether they're making the minimum wage or they're working for a major corporation. As my dad used to say, don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I will tell you what you value. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd add to that, also tell me what you believe. Well, let's start with the believing part. John McCain didn't believe there was a need for the Violence Against Women Act. He voted against it. He said, he voted against the crime bill that contained it. He said it was unnecessary and over-regulating. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he said it was ineffective and ill-conceived. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tell that to the 1.5 million women who found it necessary. Tell that to the tens of thousands of women who found shelter with their children out of their homes. Tell that to the tens of thousands of women in America who were able to get stay-away orders to enforce them. So if that man came within them, they would be arrested. I guarantee you it was necessary. It was not only morally right, it was necessary. And ladies and gentlemen, John McCain voted 19 times against the minimum wage. 19 times. Who are the people on the minimum wage? Women. Women are the majority people on the minimum wage. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if he had his way, the minimum wage literally, I'm not making this up, would literally still be $3.35 an hour. Try raising a child. Try giving them a decent environment when, in fact, even on the raised minimum wage, to be able to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, and now there are about 10,000 women, tens of thousands of women who have Social Security. That's the only way they can make it. They're older, their husbands are gone, half of them only have the Social Security left on their husband's Social Security. Imagine if John McCain's proposal to privatize and put the money in the market were in the vein today. No, literally. I mean, just think. We don't have to. You know, it's not like a Democratic scare tactic. Imagine if all that money that he wanted to put into the market were in the market today. Literally, tens of thousands of elderly women would be in a desperate situation, more desperate than they already are. You know, John's a good guy. He's a decent man. He's been a friend of mine. I knew him for 4 years, even before he got into the United States Congress. He was a Navy liaison. As I traveled the world as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, he was the guy that came along and did the advance for me. But I tell you one thing I've known about John for a long time. He doesn't believe the government should do anything about the disparity between the wages paid to a man and the same wage that should be paid to a woman but is not paid. John not only voted against the Equal Pay Amendment, John even voted twice against the right for us to call for a study of the disparity. He voted twice against the study, ladies and gentlemen. He even voted against, and when Barack Obama and I tried to rectify the Ledbetter decision, you all know what that was. We passed a law, which I'm very proud of, and it said, hey, look, here's the deal. If a woman finds out she is being discriminated against in the workplace, she can sue. And guess what? Because of the Supreme Court John McCain liked and the justices he voted for, what was the decision? It's true you were discriminated against, Ms. Ledbetter, but guess what? You didn't find out quick enough, so therefore you don't get any recovery. And as we try to rectify that decision, John McCain, and I assume Sarah Palin, I don't know, I assume that, they say they want to make sure that when they get to a point, if they were to win, and the next president, if the actuarial tables work at all, is likely to appoint from 1 to 3 new justices, maybe 4. And ladies and gentlemen, guess what? They are not Roberts, they are not Scalia, they are not Thomas, and they are not Alito. they're likely to appoint justices who have been the last bulwark against the onslaught of women's rights. Not just the right to choose, but across the board. Across the board. And what do John and Sarah Palin say? They say that they want to appoint more Scalias, more Roberts, more Alitos. These are decent, bright guys, but they are dead wrong. And ladies, once they are on the court, they will be there long after the next president is gone. They'll be there for 30 more years. And folks, when people talk about what's at stake in this election, it's more than just the economy. Let me tell you what we value. We value the right of women to be protected in their own homes against abuse. We value a Supreme Court that recognizes the right to privacy. We value equal pay for equal work. We value a minimum wage that allows people at least to get by to the next day. We value a family, which means that we value people getting paid leave to care for their sick child, to be able to go to the parent-teachers meeting. I love these guys who say, take more responsibility. How do you get to your parent-teacher meeting in the middle of the day? How do you show up? Like when my son, when I was a single parent, and they called and said he dislocated his hip. Guess what? I show up in the playground because I had no boss. But what would happen if I worked for a large corporation? What would happen if I had my own I worked for a small business? I wouldn't have been able to go. So don't tell me about what you value, John. Tell me about what you're going to do about what you value. We think we will literally, not figuratively, give 8.4 million working women up to a $4,700 a year pay raise. How? Raise the minimum wage. We'll expand the earned income tax credit, which even Ronald Reagan said is the single best social equalizer in the world that will benefit at least 5 million women who are living in poverty. We'll extend child care tax breaks. What do you all do? Where are your children right now if you're working or if you're here and you took off a little time? Most of the people to be able to work, they have to have their child in child care. Try affording that. Try affording that when you're working on the minimum wage. Try affording that when you're making $25,000, $26,000, $28,000 a year. Well, we're going to make sure that we extend that child care tax break so another 7.5 million people have additional income to do that. And we're going to guarantee that every one of those retired women, those women living on Social Security like my mom, those women who have pensions, if they have any, that adds up to all less than $50,000, that you don't have to pay a single solitary penny in federal taxes. Because why? We value the fact that people are entitled to some dignity and independence. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll guarantee that every single one of you single mothers and married women who are here today and all around this world or all around this country are trying to send their kids to college. You know, they talk about the 400,000 kids that got in and couldn't go and about how it's a shame. You know what's equally as much of a shame? It's equally as much of a shame what we do to those 6 to 800,000 parents. I'll never forget going down to borrow a car from my dad. He managed an automobile dealership for my senior prom after a baseball game. It was a Friday night. I'll never forget this. Going down, true story. And I'm walking into the showroom and asked where my dad was. And they said he's out in the lot. And I walked out in the lot to see my dad, and he looked like something terrible had happened. And I said, "What's the matter, Dad?" He said, "Oh, champ, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I said, "Dad, what's the matter?" He said, "I'm just so sorry." And I looked at him. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Honey, I'm sorry. I went to the bank. They won't lend me the money to get you to college." Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't the fact that we figured out a way, but wasn't the fact that that moment it looked like I wasn't going to get to college. He was stripped of his dignity. Just like you women and men out there when you have to look at your talented child and say, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to not make you say sorry anymore. You're going to be able to get a $4,000 refundable tax credit to send each one of your kids to school. And we're going to guarantee that every woman in America, as well as every man, has affordable, decent health care. The same health care that I have as a United States Senator.